Having owned and worn more Adidas boots over the years than I can possibly name or count, if there's one boot that I never expected Adidas to remake, it's the F50.6 Tunit. Mainly because I think it could go down as the worst ever top-end football boot ever made by the brand. But it's 2019, anything is possible, and they actually did it. What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the brand new limited edition and quite frankly kind of weird Adidas F50.6 Tunit Remakes, which of course features the signature upper of the classic F50.6 Tunit and the modern tooling from the X19 Plus and X19.1 in the form of the speed frame, sole plate, and stud pattern. So it's basically the same thing Adidas has been doing with classic Predator models, except with the boot that is far from being a classic. However, I absolutely love that they've done this. So what I'm going to do in this video is go over all the details of the remake, compare it to the original because there are a lot of similarities but also some significant differences, and talk about whether or not this is something you should consider as a viable option as a top-end football boot, because yes, it's a limited edition release, but you can absolutely wear them if you want. The question is, should you actually do that? We'll also take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire review. And if you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, keep in mind they're limited edition and will sell out very quickly, most likely. There will be links down below in the description that'll take you to the review page on my website, where you'll find buy it now links to pick these up in the US, in Europe, as well as Canada from a variety of different retailers. So if you're interested in some, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. So first things first, the boots come in a box that have a protective sleeve, I guess to protect the white box. I don't know. Open up the drawer and of course you'll find the boots, but they do also include a string bag, which you do get from a lot of top-end models from Adidas. This one, however, is kind of boring and I'm a little bit disappointed by it. It is the normal string bag you'd normally get with an X19 Plus, featuring the Adidas and X logos there on the front, the typical black mesh material, black strings. It's kind of boring and it would have been really cool to get an F50 themed string bag. So this gets a rating of F50 out of F150. As for the boots themselves, if you've never seen the original F50.6 Tunit, you're probably thinking to yourself, wow, that is weird looking and or cool looking and or the most plasticky football boot I've ever seen in my life. And regardless of which of those opinions you have, you're right, because this is just a strange pair of boots. However, it's a strange pair of football boots that I have a special connection with because it's the first pair of high-end football boots that as a kid I really wanted and actually got right when they came out. Now it's the F50.6, the 6 representing 2006, the year. However, they technically came out in 2005, and I had a pair in this exact colorway, this being an OG F50.6 Tunit upper. Now, for those that are unfamiliar with this system, this was the first of the F50 boots to feature the Tunit, which was basically kind of what we have now with the Adidas Glitch, football boot Legos, I like to refer to it as, where you would buy the upper, you would buy an internal chassis, which also made up the sole plate and the insole, and then you'd put in studs into that chassis that obviously go through the holes here that you have in the upper. So it was basically a fully modular football boot, which sounds like a great idea, but it was very heavy, extremely stiff, super uncomfortable. And as you can see from this particular angle, the toe box, I mean, they might as well be steel toe boots. Needless to say, and I think most people would agree, looking back, these definitely weren't the greatest boots. And even as a child who really wanted these, I kind of recognized that they weren't all that great, especially given the fact that these boots replaced my Predator Manias at the time, which is totally crazy to think about now. Either way, I have to applaud Adidas for staying so true to the original with this F50.6 remake, because the upper, as you can see, is still very plasticky as it was in the day. I know pretty much most football boots these days are either knitted or synthetic, and you've probably heard somebody say, whether it's your coach or your dad, why are you wearing those plastic boots when there's much better leather ones available? But back in 2005, 2006, when these existed, that was an insult that was pretty true. If you've ever felt the texture of a laminated piece of paper, that is basically what this upper feels like. Plastic laminate on the surface of what I think was some kind of a mesh material. I'm not entirely sure. Granted, it's very soft and flexible. It doesn't necessarily have a plasticky feel despite being very plasticky looking, but it's very close to what we had back in 2006. You can even see it has this very subtle pattern here running throughout the entire blue part of the upper. That's exactly like the first ones had, but you can see when you put them side by side, the pattern is actually a little bit larger than it is on the remake. Either way, the upper is pretty close. What is different though is the liner, this featuring more of a synthetic suede on the remake, where the original has this very kind of almost rough kind of internal textile material. So in terms of quality of upper, I definitely think the remake is actually a little bit nicer. They even maintain this absolutely horrible seam here in the toe box that would rub on your toes on the original pair. It doesn't seem to be as much of an issue on this new one, although it is still something that you can feel through the newer liner. Something they have also improved though is the shape of the boot. You can see from this profile, it still has a little bit of a chunky look in the toe box, but when you compare it side by side with the original, you can see how much higher and how much more square the OGs actually were. On the topic of touch, the F50.6 Tunit is responsible for what is quite possibly one of the bulkiest and chunkiest lace covers ever to be featured on a pair of football boots, which is kind of interesting because lace covers have been making a little bit of a comeback as of late. This, however, is not a great example of one. You can see it kind of creates this very large flat surface on top of your foot, a ton of extra bulk from the side profile as well. And trust me when I say you will notice the amount of bulk and padding and material on top of your foot when making contact with the ball, whether it's dribbling or shooting. Some people love it. I am personally not a big fan of it. And you'll find Velcro lining the edges of either side of the lace cover, including the top. So you basically have a sealed unit underneath this lace cover, which underneath, listen to this, you have a central lacing system with these kind of lace loops that are fitted on the underside of the upper, something I'm also not a huge fan of. There is still a regular tongue made out of a different type of synthetic material, and then the top part has this little fold over piece of Velcro, 2 pieces of Velcro right there, and you can see the underside of the lace cover is outlined in Velcro as well. Football boot technology has come a long way. Just to quickly transition into the colorway, they obviously went for the launch color for the remake, and when I saw these, I thought, wow, that looks exactly like the original, but with the original side by side, you can see that there are some subtle colorway differences. The base blue is identical, but then you'll notice the Adidas stripes running through the middle, which it's not very clear that those are even Adidas stripes. It's not something that I really picked up on as a kid. I kind of just viewed it as design. But you can see on the remake, it's a light blue color, where on the originals, it's a combination of green and white. And you'll notice all of this green trim for the F50 branding, and then the graphics you have through the forefoot, the midfoot, as well as on the underside, it's actually like a lime green color, where on the remake, it's more of like a neon or highlighter yellow. So they have actually changed the shade from green to yellow, which again is a very subtle difference. You'll only notice this when you have the two boots side by side, but it is a difference nonetheless. They also somewhat disappointingly did not include the little Tunit logo here on the internal heel liner. However, you'll notice that it does have that same kind of green pattern swooping through the heel liner at the back. They did include that little extra detail on the remake, which is something that I'm pretty happy about. And then as far as the insole is concerned, this is something that is a relatively new design, but it is based on the original chassis that you would have got on an OG pair. You can see it's neon yellow in color. It has that Team Jess logo right there. It says X Speed, which would have been cool to put F50.6 on this particular insole in my opinion. And then again, it just features the graphics you would normally find on a chassis, but it is of course just a regular insole. Which brings us to the base of this remake, where you'll find the familiar speed frame shared with the current X boots, either the 19 Plus or 19.1. It does not have a wearable finish. Instead, it features the same graphics, or at least something very similar to what was found on the original boot with the upper that kind of spanned the bottom of the shoe. And then of course you just have the standard stud pattern that goes along with the speed frame for the current X boot. So the base of this boot is very, very capable, and in my opinion, the best layout on offer from the Adidas brand. And quite frankly, it just makes this a much better football boot just with a different sole plate alone versus what the original had on offer. Which brings us to the weight, which is particularly important because the F50 line is a speed boot line and the F50.6 Tunit was a speed boot. However, it was a speed boot that wasn't light at all. In fact, it was kind of heavy. So the original is significantly lighter. Unfortunately, I don't have all the pieces for the F50.6. However, I do have a fully constructed pair of F50.7s, which was the next generation that was better. Either way, this is an F50.7 in a size 8.5 US, and you can see that they weigh in at 10.7 ounces, the equivalent of 303 grams, which is not light. I don't need to explain that to you. So I'll change the scale back to ounces, pull these off, and we'll throw on the Remake boots in a size 9.5 US, and you can see that they weigh in at a much lighter 7.4 ounces, the equivalent of 209 grams, quite nearly a full 100 grams lighter, and pretty much on par from a weight perspective to the current generation of X Speed boots from the Adidas brand. So as you can see, I have not swapped out the laces because you can't see the laces because they're trapped underneath this giant Velcro sealed lace cover. However, if you did want to change the laces, there are some extra ones available at sr4ulaces.com, just saying. Either way, I did want to show you the process of putting these on because it is a little bit more difficult than it perhaps should be because of this lace cover design. So first things first, you have to undo the Velcro, and then from there, you have to loosen the laces while being very careful of the Velcro here and the Velcro here, because it's the rough kind of Velcro or the rougher side of Velcro, and it sticks to the laces. You can see like that. And then if you do that enough times, it kind of makes the laces all fuzzy, which is extremely annoying and something that I really dislike. So you got to loosen this up with this thing constantly flapping in your way. Once you have it loose enough, you can slide your foot in as you normally would. The back of this boot seems to be really, really soft for some reason. There's no structure back here, which I guess is just part of the Remake design. Pull the tongue so it's completely flat, and then you can start tying the laces. Again, while this fold over lace cover thing keeps getting in your way. Get to the top, this is gonna get in your way at the top. It's now sticking to my socks, as you can see. You do that, you tie them up. See, it's already pulled my sock. That's legitimate sock damage right there. Man, the F50.6 was great. Tie them up if you can manage, because just like that. And then from here, you wanna cleverly and carefully put the laces in this kind of smushed up ball right here at the top, fold this top piece of the tongue down, and then put the lace cover down and seal the Velcro on the edges, and then from there, you'll never see your laces again. On feet, these F50 Remakes actually feel pretty good, a heck of a lot better than the originals did for a couple different reasons. Reason number one is that this does have a more modern football boot shape, obviously sharing the sole plate with the current generation of X boots, so it just has something more along the lines of what a modern speed boot should have in terms of the overall shape of the boot, both width as well as volume, because like I did point out earlier, they did lower the volume of the toe box significantly, so it's not a square angle. As far as everything else is concerned, the upper doesn't seem to have a ton of structure, so it's definitely not as responsiveness as a lot of modern speed boots would be, but either way, they're very comfortable. I don't really have too many issues with it. Like I said, the structure in the heel is a little bit soft, so maybe heel slippage could be an issue for some people, but in general, definitely very wearable. And as far as all the extra bulk on the top of your foot is concerned, you definitely don't feel it, but you do see it, and you will notice it when making contact with the ball, so something to be aware of. As far as width is concerned, these definitely seem to have some decent width to them, and I think will be suitable for most people. If you have really, really wide feet, maybe not the best option for you, but I'm not sure that's going to be a major concern for this limited edition release. And as far as the sizing is concerned, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. So if you're looking to order a pair for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So in conclusion, this is a limited edition release that honestly doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm glad that Adidas did it, and I'm glad that I have a pair. Is it a pair of boots that you should buy to actually wear? I guess if you had a pair of F50 Tunits, whether it was 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, or 0.9, and you really like the extra bulky lace cover across the top of your foot, and you want to have that sensation again, absolutely buy these to wear. Otherwise, I kind of view this as more of a collector's item, but they're definitely wearable by today's standards in regards to how they fit, feel, and ultimately perform. It's just a little bit of a weird touch because of the extra bulk. However, the interesting part is that we started getting Predator remakes and then eventually a return of the Predator. Now they're making F50 remakes. Does that mean we're going to get a return of the F50? Anyways, guys, that's it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in a pair of these limited edition boots, Get them before they're gone. First link down below. You'll find buy it now links to pick these up from retailers based in the US, Europe, as well as in Canada. If you have any questions, as always, leave them down below in the comment section, and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you as soon as I possibly can. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.